Hello and welcome to Parkway. I'm Jeff and this is my 00 and N gauge model railway. A few messages. I haven't disappeared. I've just been really busy with work. I did kind of pre-warn that this is probably going to happen from time to time, but I have been able to do a little bit of work over the last couple of months, and what I've been working on is kind of sorting out the fascia board on the top 00 gauge, which is just literally a case of cutting some wood and painting some wood, so it wasn't that big a job, so it doesn't form part of this video. But what I have been doing is building these two platform halts for the new Pride Valley station, named Pride Valley because we have the valley and the viaduct right here. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you what I did with these two halts. They are for the 00 layout, although you could just adapt what I did and do exactly the same thing for N gauge. What I'm going to be focusing my attention on next, just for all of those of you that are here for the N gauge stuff and not the 00 gauge stuff, is this countryside area down below, which sweeps all the way around and will also include the power station on this side as well. It's quite a big area, but it's quite a simple area, as in there's not going to be a huge amount here. I have some plans for further down the line for a big area over in this corner, but that's a little way off yet. So what I'm going to be doing, as I say, today's video all about this station halt. The next video will be all about getting the basic scenery in down here, and I'm not talking ballast and track. I'm talking getting the hill forms in, the land forms in, the basic ground cover down, because what I also want to do in the next video after that one is to start doing that on this top 00 gauge layout as well. Put a little bit of a scene in over here where there's going to be a pub and the road going by, and really bring this end of the layout, hopefully by the end of summer, to life. That's the plan. That's what I'm hoping to do. I say that I'm going away again at the end of the week, but I'll crack on. We'll see what we get done. Thank you as always for your support. If you like what you see, give the video a thumbs up. It does help. And if you've got any comments, questions, thoughts, pop them down below in the comments, and I will see you all again really soon. Take care. Bye bye. Alright guys, so you join me at my very messy workbench. But basically what we've got here is two pieces of 9mm plywood. I have put some wood glue between them. I've clamped them together so that they've dried, and that basically gives me an 18mm surface. I'm not saying that is what height your platform should be, but that works for me. Platforms are all different heights, so just where I live in the southeast, it always makes me laugh that you go to places like Clapham Junction, you've got to jump 4 foot down off the train, or it feels like 4 foot sometimes, and then you've got other places where they've built up the platforms in just certain areas such as East Croydon just to make them compatible with modern regulations. So two pieces of 9mm is what I'm using, as I say, glued together. And the first thing I'm going to do is cut some strips of plastic card, and I think this one here is fine cast. It's just because I picked it up at a show, and it's just brick, red, well it will be red brick, but normal brick. So I'm going to basically cut off some strips that are 18mm high, so the same height as the ply is, and then I am going to basically glue that on. Anywhere where there's a joint, I will just cut another little strip so that it looks kind of like a support, and I'm going to work my way all the way along with that, and then once that's stuck on, I will show you what it looks like. Alright, there it is. So you didn't need to see me cutting strips of plastic and gluing it on, but that's on, it's in place. You can see here where there was a join, I've just used another little strip there, and that'll just represent kind of a brick pillar to strengthen the platform, and I've put another one there, another one there, and then one on either end as well, just to kind of make it look a bit smarter. So the next stop is we're going to need some coping stones all the way around the outside. There's lots of different kinds of platforms. This is what I'm doing because I think I can adapt this method for N gauge as well, so for all my platforms. So for N gauge, I'll obviously not be using such, 18mm, and I'll probably not use ply neither. I'll probably use foam board, but we will see. So what I'm going to be using is these things from Metcalf. If I had more time and patience, I could have made them out of plastic card and sat and cut them myself. But why would I do that when these are already cut? They're perfectly good. They're self-adhesive. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run a bead of rocket card glue down here first and then pop them on all the way around. I'll probably do the front and maybe just a tiny bit of the sides just to make them have a little bit of detail. But we'll get them on and then we can move on to the next step. All right, there we go. So we have got the stones all the way along the front there. I could have used a strip of plastic card, as I said earlier, or I could have used just cut out my own, but I like the fact they're not perfectly straight. They're relatively straight, but they're not perfect. And I think that'll just give a little bit of something to it. And I'm not going to leave them this colour. I will be painting them as well, so because they're going to get messy with the next step. So the next step is I need to put on a surface for the platforms. And I am just going to use ready mixed polyfiller to go on there. And all I've done is, because I want to give it something for the polyfiller to stick to, I had this. And this is the stuff that you use. It's self-adhesive. I can't find the end on it. There it is. And if you're using plasterboard, it's what you put on the joints and then you kind of skim over it. Now I've got this left because when I converted the garage, I had to buy this giant roll of it, even though I didn't need that much of it. So I've got a load of it left. I probably wouldn't go out and buy it just for this job. You could just scratch up the wood and just give it something to cling on to. But because I had this, and because it was pretty much the right width as well, I've just stuck a full length of it all the way down the platform there. So I'm going to put some masking tape over these just so they don't get bunged up with filler, and then I'm just going to, as smoothly as I can, just with a filler knife, I'm just going to go down this and put some ready mix polyfiller on it. So I'll be back as soon as I've done that. So there it is. I've just lost a video clip that I recorded, but luckily I realised that I had this camera on photo mode and not on video mode, so I just took 2 pictures and been talking to myself for the last 2 minutes, but never mind. This is what I've used. It's polyfiller, multi-purpose, shrink and crack resistant, but use whatever you're happy with. I already had this tub because we've been doing some decorating in the house, so that's what I've used. I've just made it on using old-fashioned knife on there, and then I had some of this lovely yellow decorator's tape protecting the stones across the front. Not because I was bothered about getting filler on them, but I didn't want to get all the gaps filled with filler. The filler's still wet, and I just peeled the tape off, but that was on the video. That was actually a photo. So I'm going to leave this now to dry. Once it's dry, I'm going to get a rattle can of some grey primer out. I'm going to prime the whole thing, so you can see the tape has took off some of the top of the stones there. That's not filler, it's just peeled the top surface off. That's fine. I'm going to cover the whole thing in grey primer and then we'll start to paint it. Before I do that, I will give it a quick rub over with some sandpaper. I've got it quite smooth, to be honest with you, and I don't mind a bit of texture in it. So we'll see how we get on with that. But let's leave it to dry, and while that's drying, we can have a look at some of the other stuff that I've got, including a little shelter that I need to build, and some bits and bobs that we need to paint up as well, so we can be doing them while this is drying. So while that is drying, let's take a look at this little pile of goodies we've got here. So the first thing we've got is kind of going to be the centerpiece of this little HALT station. Angle it so you can see it. So this is a Nightwing kit. Not the easiest things to get a hold of these days. I bought the last 2 that a certain big online retailer that I went to had available. Incidentally, my model shop, my only local model shop, closed down last year. The guy retired and nobody took over the shop, so I don't have a local model shop anymore. So bit sad, but you know, it's the way things are. So this is a corrugated roof station shelter. So pretty simple plastic kit. As you know, I like my plastic kits. It only looks to be maybe what, 6-7 parts to it, so that should be pretty quick to put together. We'll use the old little jig to make sure it's nice and square. I have got from Model Scenes a station name board, a run name board. It's a little bit old fashioned for the ERAM modelling, but I can't imagine the station had a huge amount of love. So we will glue that together and get that painted up as well. We've got some fencing, and I've just gone for the ratio. It's a Great Western style, but I liked it, so that's why I went for it. It's black and it's very plasticky, so we'll get that cut out, we'll get it primed, and then we will paint it blue for my kind of GNERE colours that I like for my stations. Not prototypical, but I like it. We've got some Bachmann benches here, so we'll just change them to be blue and they will sit on the platform. Winter layout, so we've got some grip bins here as well. So they'll just get a bit weathered up and they can go on to the platforms. And then the last thing we've got is some street lights from Just Plug, Woodland Scenics. So there's 3 there. I'm only going to use 2 of them, but they'll work on the Just Plug system. And actually, I'll put a little light inside the little station shelter as well. I have primed this grey, so you can just see there the whole thing has been painted, the brickwork. I've just given it a light mist. It doesn't need to be really thick because we're going to be covering it anyway. And I just use this. Used to be cheapest chips on Amazon. It's got a little bit more expensive, so I've actually got another tin floating around, something different, which is a £5, I think, which is much better. But if I find it, I will pop the link down below for that. I've also primed that grey fencing that I showed you earlier. I've just glued 2 bits together and 2 bits together, and then I'm going to go over that. This is the blue that I use as my kind of GNER blue. It's hard now to get a GNER blue, so this one is a Humbrol Midnight Blue, and it does the job just as well. So I'll give that a quick spray. The little hut that I built is currently drying. I've just primed that with some white primer, and also the little signs are as well. So a couple of things that you'll notice I've done. I have drilled 3 holes into the top of this. One just off camera over here, one there, and there for the 2 lights to go in. And then I've drilled a big hole here, which has just got some filler in it at the moment. And that's one of these Just Plug lights. And unfortunately, one of the problems with these Just Plug lights, and I'm remembering now why I didn't use them, why they've just been sitting in a box, is because you need a hole big enough to get that through and also to get that through. So I ended up with a 12mm hole just to put an LED light through, which is ridiculous. But never mind, I'm using them, so it is what it is. So I've just wiggled that about a bit, and I'll keep doing that while the polyfiller dries, just so that I can adjust it, the length of it, once I put the little hood on there. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to paint this up. So my paints of choice for this, there's lots of other paints available. This is just what I've got, so what I'm using. So this is Vallejo Model Colour Stone Grey, and that is what I'll be using for the edging stones along the front of the platform. The brickwork on the front of the platform, I will be using a Humbrol Matte 70, and this is an enamel paint. I like to use an enamel on any brickwork that's going to be by the track, just because it's a bit more water resistant, so when you get putting your ballast down, it just means you're not going to wash the acrylic paint off, so just a bit of extra protection. We'll then go over that with just a wash. This is a odds and sods pot of whites and creams that I've got that I've made really thin with some acrylic thinners, and that will work just for the mortar on the bricks. And then the last thing I'm using is this AK Terrains concrete diorama paint. It's basically paint with sand or gravel or something, and it makes it have a nice rough texture. I want this platform to look a bit old, and you know, it's not going to have had the most amount of love, and I like this. I've had a little play with it. So I'm going to paint this up. You don't need to watch me paint it, and then I will report back with the next steps. There we have the platform painted. Now obviously it looks very shiny and new at the moment. So the top surface has been done with a texture paint. Those stones were done with a stone paint. We used the Humbrol enamels on the front with a white wash over the bricks to bring out the mortar. Obviously this all looks really clean and like it's brand new at the moment, which obviously it won't when we keep going. The light that I popped in and the filler around it has dried. I'll give it a little touch up once the building's in place. The fencing is now painted blue. and so I will get that put in along the back that way even. I've just noticed there's a dodgy bit there where it looks like it's stuck to the masking tape, so I'll sort that out just there. Actually, just wiped off. So I will get this in. I'll just use a little pin vise, just put little holes all the way along, bit of super glue, get that in along the back. The other thing that I've done is the running in boards. Now I do have some white, I haven't got it at hand, some white primers just from Halfords, and I've painted these two running in boards, and you can see there, Pride Valley will be the name of this station halt. The reason for that is, well, Pride, because obviously it goes with the whole Pride Parkway and everything else. And I grew up in a place with valley in the name. And because this little halt is right next to where the river is and the viaduct, it made sense for this to be Pride Valley. So I need to flood the back of this with blue so that the white of the letters stand out. So I'll get the two of them done, and then this is this little station halt, and I think it's a really cute little building. Took me 5 minutes to put together with a bit of plastic weld. I've also sprayed this with a white primer, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint the roof, and I've got a Humbrol 91 acrylic, and it's a black green. So we'll do that on the roof, and that'll give it a nice winter look. And then I'm just going to touch up a couple of bits and pieces with the blue again. I haven't got this blue, this Humbrol blue, in anything other than a rattle can, but this one here, this is XF8 flat blue from Tamiya, is a very similar blue. I mean, it's super similar. So I'm going to just create a couple of little blue bits on here, paint the litter bin blue, the bench blue, the notice boards on the side blue, probably do the gutter in and the downpipe in blue as well, just to make it stand out. And then we'll get this light stuck in the roof, and if you look, what I've done is I've just took some little bits of plastic card and I've just created this here, which is basically going to act as a shade, so that when I put the light inside, and glue it in, I'll just put a drop of super glue on and glue it all the way around. It's not going to shine out at the front, it'll make it shine down. And the good thing with these just plug lights are you can just adjust the brightness on them, so there's no messing on with resistors or anything. I'll say it again, these are expensive. I know there is cheaper ways to do it. I already had these, I'm using up what I've got. So we will get this all together, get this glued onto here as well, get the running in boards glued on as well, and then I will come back to you for the finishing touches. One other thing actually that I do need to do, Humbrol 69, yellow, warning yellow I think it is, we'll just put a yellow stripe along the front of the platform. So let's quickly get that done. Alright, so we've progressed a little further. We've got the yellow line on, very yellow line on. We've also got the fencing in on the back there, and I've put in two of these lights. This is them as they come out the packet. They're like a weird browny colour. So I have just painted them blue so they match the rest of the station. I have finished painting the little hut as well, the little waiting shelter, so that is ready to go on there. Just need to super glue this light into the inside of it. They're nice little shelters, and they're only a couple of quid, so I think they work well. Then we've got the two running in boards, and I know these are the wrong era for me, but I like them. It's my railway. Do what I want to. So there's one of them to go there, and another one to go probably there, I'm going to say. And then we've got a couple of benches to go on, maybe one there and one down there maybe. I'll have a play around. And then a couple of salt bins as well, because remember this now is going to be covered in snow. So we need to get them on there as well. So we'll get all of this glued on to where it's going to be. I'm probably just going to use a little bit of this trusty old Poundland super glue. It sticks everything, including your fingers, even just trying to open it. But you get about 6 of them for £1, so it's cheap and cheerful, and it works for me. So let's get all of them in. One other thing that I want to do is just going to use some black paint, or some dark grey, that one actually is, and just create a couple of little squares as if there's been some repairs done. to the surface, the platform surface. Now, just one thing to point out, the fencing goes all the way around at this end here, but it doesn't at this end, and that's because that's where the footpath will come into the station halt there. So let's get these last few bits on here, and then we're going to weather it to bring it all together. Get some signs off the internet. I'm going to get some signs off probably scale scenes, because I can just print them off, get them added as well, and then we should be just about there. Oh, and I've got to do another one as well, haven't I? So yeah, let's get on. So there we have everything in place on the platform. I have also just painted in a couple of little patch repairs on the concrete surface, so everything's stuck down, everything is in a good place. So the next job is to stop this from looking so shiny and new, and to do that I am going to get some of this Humbrol weathering powder, and I am just going to hit the surface of the platforms, hit the bricks, hit the buildings, hit the grip prints, just generally hit everything. The way I work with this is I put a stiff brush into here, dab it off on a bit of kitchen paper, and then just brush it over wherever I want it. I do it in the garden, and the reason I do it in the garden for is because I found that no matter how careful you are, it gets everywhere, and it'll be all over your cutting board, and you get it on your hands and up your arms, and then you'll try and cut something out that's white, and anyway, it's a nightmare. So out in the garden to do that. And then the very last job is I have printed off the signs that I mentioned earlier from the Scale Scenes website. So this is the Regional Railways 00 scale signage. So we'll have some platform numbers, some running boards, and some of these information signs added as well. All I'll do is I'll mount that onto some 1/2 mil plastic card, cut it out and stick them where I need them to be. And then of course we need a second platform, and I'm already slightly ahead of myself. So here is platform number 1, and behind it is platform number 2, and hopefully I just bring the camera down a little bit, you can see the difference the weathering makes onto this, and also the signage. Let me just tilt it up so that you're looking straight on the camera, hitting the soldering iron. So, you know, you've got your signage there, you've got your platform numbers on the lampposts as well, more signage. Obviously I've done the patches a little bit different on the ground, running all the way down, and then of course these are opposite ways. So if I turn this one around, now ignore the back of it because you won't see that because I'm going to bring the ground right up to that level, but obviously they will sit like this, with a double track running through the middle of it. And I'm just going to zoom us out a little bit. It's better. So obviously ignore the grey bit at the back because you won't see that because I'm going to build the ground right up to it. But there you've got your 2 platforms. So there'll be an entrance at both sides here onto the platforms where there's no fencing. And obviously this end is where the viaduct's going to be, just down here. So that the trains can, if I turn it around, you can see it. Yeah, that's where the trains will run off. So I'm going to call it a day with this video now, just purely because I'm running out of time. I am due to travel to the US on another work trip, so I'm going to be away for a little while. But once I get back, I am going to get these bedded in, glued down, and all the landscaping around it put into place so that we've got a small scenic area on the 00 layout. There is something else I've been working on, so let me just move the camera and I'll show you that as well. Yeah, so while I've been waiting for the paint to dry on the various stages of the station halt, I have actually started work on the main platforms over here as well. They're at different stages, but what I'll do is I'll pop some pictures in so you can get an idea of where they're up to. There's still work to be done, but it is a big step forward for both that side and this side of the 00 gauge layout. As always, thank you for your support. If you've enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. If you've got any comments, leave them down below, and I will be back with another video shortly. But thanks as always, guys. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.